Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying this reunion lunch. We're thrilled to have you here. Especially want to shout out our head of the class is a member of the class of 52, Frank Ham. So, Frank. There he is. Wonderful scholarship supporter for our students. Next slide. I want to give you a brief update of where our university stands. Oh, operator error here. Welcome back. Four objectives. Providing an update, what our policy is for the fall. My eyesight's going. Taking better care of our people, our faculty, staff, and strategic planning, where we are. Observations from dealing with COVID. I'll use my slides here. A few key takeaways from the past 18 months. Number one, we made it. Immensely proud of the faculty, staff, and students, their resilience, resourcefulness, how they rose to the occasion. We were able to preserve key intersections. When you think about it, universities are in the business of creating intersections. COVID thrives on intersections. So we had to think what was key to preserve, and we were able to preserve the most important ones. The intersection with knowledge, the intersection with others, especially across curricular, co-curricular borders, and the intersection with each other and ourselves, how we grow as people. 55% of our classes were in person, 25% hybrid, a mix of in-person, online, the rest were online. This fall, we're going to be entirely in person, pretty much, with a few notable exceptions. I've yet to run into a current student who said, I prefer the new norm to the old norm. So if anything, we learned that our model still has tremendous staying power, and we're looking forward to getting back to it. And we were able to successfully navigate the pandemic financially. In terms of how the campus looked, it was definitely outside of ordinary. These are just a few scenes. We had to create classrooms with more social distance in places like our libraries. How you deliver books to students where they could pre-order them. Our libraries were just one example of how people were very creative in dealing with the pandemic. We were able to continue participating with athletics. One example, we were one of only 2 schools still playing Division III football in the state of New York. It was a limited season in football, only 2 games. We went to Utica, the other school that was playing. They came to us. We should have won both games. A few too many mistakes on their home turf, but we ended up winning on our home turf, an impressive goal line stand. We had one of our best seasons ever in women's softball. Went to the NCAAs, won the Empire 8. So kudos to our team. A third of them hail from the Golden State, California. California and Arizona are especially strong hotbeds, and our coach, Luke Wisniewski, is very good at developing a pipeline of students from the West as well as the Northeast. We had a little bit of an outside of ordinary commencement. So we thought for a while, could we mass produce commencement? RIT had 17 different consecutive celebrations. We had other peers that had 5 or 6. And we just felt that had the wrong feel. So we created a personalized way for each student to receive their diploma in person, ways that we could celebrate their successes by college or school, and then what we did virtually to celebrate everybody together. Some wonderful speakers that we were able to recruit thanks to Peter Cuneo. We had a virtual celebration. We now have close to 1,000 graduates from our AU-NYC program. Matthew Washington, one of our trustees, class of 2004 member, was the virtual speaker there. They're going to stay entirely online because the profile of the students, where they're located, COVID is still pretty prevalent right now, and so to play it safe, they want to make sure to preserve that safety. For the fall, they're going to be staying online. Key reason why we made it through the year has to do with our provost, Beth Ann Doby. Beth Ann, are you here? I thought she was going to be here, but rose through the ranks. She's been with us 25 years, was our Dean of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and 2 years ago became our provost. We have a new trustee, a Delta Sig brother, Rich Witherly, who is the CEO of Crayola. Their big problem has been producing crayons quickly enough since he became CEO in January 2020. People have a need for creative outlets now that they've been spending more time at home. And we have a new life trustee, Ann Moskowitz. Joel Moskowitz was a member of our class of '63. Together they founded the company Ceradyne. They saved quite a few lives of first responders, soldiers, through their product. It always gave them great meaning when they would hear from one of those first responders and said, you helped save my life, or you helped prevent a more significant injury in my case. If some of you stayed in Ann's house, it's named on account of Ann's wonderful generosity. If you stayed at Joel's house, that's in honor of Joel Moskowitz. Moskowitz Hall is their joint gift, the renovation that was made possible through their support. This is a little bit of an eye chart, but enrollment pre-COVID, we were on a nice upward trajectory. That slowed markedly during COVID. We had a number of students take a gap year, a gap semester. We're back on the rebound for the fall, but until they actually show up, we're not counting our chickens. We have quite a bit of representation. We had applications from 110 different countries. We expect 55 international students right now, spanning 30 different countries, including places like Bangladesh, Canada, Congo, Senegal, South Africa, the United Kingdom. We started a new program and through Jonathan Kent and our enrollment management team, where we asked schools in the state of New York to identify who has promise, who's outside of ordinary in your junior class, and we recognize them with a special gift that epitomizes Alfred University. We're going to be expanding that program to some adjoining states. We are SAT optional. Most schools went that route because it was harder to do standardized tests, so we saw a significant increase in SAT scores, but there were fewer submitted this year, so that has to be taken with a grain of salt. But overall GPA, high school GPA, still saw a pretty nice uptick. And high school GPA is a much better predictor of college success than SAT or ACT scores. We established a Saxon signing day where we couldn't do large-scale events this year due to COVID, but we did a major event, a smaller size, on May 1st, where students could come to campus, prospective students, and write their name on a ceramic tile mosaic created by one of our current students, Lucas Perry. One of our incoming students was featured on NBC's Today Show when people were signing nationally. We didn't know about this until the day before, but Alyssa DeMillo is going to be joining us from the Syracuse area. And so she got a nice depiction that morning with her family and the family dog. Jonathan Kent, I know, is here. A number of you met him on Thursday night. Where are you, Jonathan? In the corner. Very Alfred, originally from Maine, undergrad degree from St. Lawrence, where he met his wife, Sarah. He's been with us now 2 years. It's been a baptism by fire. But just watching the oxygen that our enrollment management team has appeared to be living on, pure oxygen, he's had a wonderful effect on that team. And it also shows in the results. He's currently also our interim Vice President of Student Affairs. And a key thing that he's been promoting, a couple key things. how do we broaden the team that recruits the next generation? How to identify people with promise? So many of our peers chase just SAT scores or ACT scores. That's what U.S. News focuses on disproportionately. But our history is rich with people that found themselves either when they hit our shores or on the cusp of doing so. So how do I identify through alums, through faculty, staff, through current students, that we ought to take a chance on him or her? So the broader our team can be, and would encourage your help in this regard in your hometowns, be on the lookout where there's a good fit, where we can have a similar experience to what you had at Alfred University. A number of you still remember the day where not only being required to wear beanies, but being required to say hello. I run every morning. About 60% of the people I run into on my run still say hello. When I ran in Rochester before Alfred, it was about 25%. When I ran in Boston and Los Angeles, it was about 5%. So we're looking forward, going forward, to making sure that stays a key component, the warmth that people feel, the community, the relationships we build. And then the importance, we tend to be a shy place when it comes to philanthropy or when it comes to recruiting students. We have to get less shy about asking. One of the things Jonathan and his team have found out about, making sure we're sufficiently following up with prospective students and saying, we really want you to join the Alfred University team. And then fundamentally, not just getting people here, but that we're recruiting alums. We're not recruiting students, we're recruiting alums, that it's a lifelong commitment and process. Advancement, we turn the clock every July 1st. We're already off to a good start. As of this morning, we had 683 Saxon Circle members. Pleased to tell you that the Omicron sisters approached me right as we were going to process in, and they said, look, we just met this morning, and we as a team are going to commit to creating 30 new Saxon Circle members and underwriting them for current students. So if I could have the sisters stand and so we can thank them for their wonderful support. There they are. And they said in passing, too, that they would like to throw down the gauntlet. So if Kappa Psi or Lambda Chi or the Delta Sig brothers would like to follow their example, they would more than welcome their lead. A few new things that are coming to life because of philanthropy. We had an off-campus Foundry facility. It was harder to attract students because it was off-site. We leased the spot from Alfred State. They wanted to reclaim the lease 2 years ago, so we've had a jerry-rigged spot on campus. Our facilities person, as we were thinking, where do we locate this new, better place, had this brilliant insight, why don't we do it in the central heating plant, that smokestack right behind Carnegie. It's got the perfect configuration. Faculty bought into it. We have a commitment from the state of New York for $6.7 million. They felt bad about our losing our lease to build a state-of-the-art foundry that's going to entail a much better intersection between art and design and engineering, a digital fab lab. The hope is to create a 4-year degree bridging art and design and engineering. But then the problem became to accept the state gift of $6.7 million, we had to raise $6 million to move the central heating plant elsewhere. That's what currently sits in that smokestack building. 10 of our buildings are still on a central heating system. So one of our trustees, I thought I'd ask her for about $1 million to get the ball rolling. She had seen the whole proposal. When we talked to her in October, she said, you know, I've got to go out and vote, absentee ballot, so I'm just going to cut to the chase. Me and my husband, Marty, are going to make a $6 million commitment to underwrite the whole thing. We've never seen a gift, at least I'd never seen a gift to a distributed boiler system, but these are the kind of people we have as trustees and supporters. Michelle and Marty have a son that went here through our School of Art and Design, a 2005 graduate from our university. When we were trying to figure out how do we pay for this distributed boiler system, we were trying to look through the budget, what could we put on hold and not renovate? And one of the items we thought we'd put on hold was repaving the other half of our streets. And this was back in January 2020, when we talked to the board and said we could save $400,000 that way. Later that evening, got a phone call from our class of 54 member, Marlon Miller, who said, I'll personally underwrite repaving the other half of campus. So I've never seen a gift like that either, where people give to new buildings, they give to scholarships, endowed faculty staff positions, but never seen somebody give to repaving a road. And then we've had two other trustees. We have John Edmond, who co-started CRE. They've made it big in LED lighting. They're from North Carolina. They're currently building a $1 billion facility in Marcy, New York, that's going to be the largest silicon carbide wafer manufacturing facility in the world. He led the effort to locate it in New York. He's a Wayland Cohocton kid. And so if you're up there at night, it also has some great LED lighting that was donated by him and his wife, Rita. And then if you're running, you'll see this purple path, and there's a bike path up there, and we were able to create about 100 new parking spaces. 3 trustees made it possible. Marlon Miller kicked it off, John Edmond, and then Jim Jordan with the campus beautification gift. Let's clap. Oppenheim is our largest residence hall, 150 beds. Dates back over 50 years. We were told by consultants, don't take prospective students there. It was showing its years. If you're inside now, it's getting some finishing touches. It was renovated last summer, 2 trustees, Greg Connors and Marlon Miller. Now fully air-conditioned. We're on the last stretch of installing a sprinkler system in the top 2 floors that will be ready for the students' return. We were able to renovate it last summer and house students there all through the year. Many more meeting spaces. It will become a go-to destination right next to Alumni Hall, where we'll take all prospective students. A number of you took a tour this morning of some other places that haven't seen a renovation. Would encourage you, there's some wonderful naming opportunities, so come talk to me and so if the place you lived at still looks like the place you lived at, and it's been a few decades, we'll definitely work with you on doing the same thing that Greg and Marlon did for Oppenheim. If you were up next to Teft and now Moskowitz, it used to be Reimer, you'll see a fabulous new link. To build a bridge, we want to create more intersections on campus. We have a wider range of programs, and we view that as a real forte for our university that could get even stronger. And as the alums will attest, an engineer tends to think differently from an art and design student, from a business student, from a liberal arts student. So the more we can create, and especially between existing residence halls, so you broaden the community, and then you create an area of focus through classrooms and co-curricular activities. First spot is the link sponsored by Marlon Miller. Ann Moskowitz also underwrote, and her late husband Joel used to be Reimer. By happy coincidence, the Reimer family, the son that came for the dedication, his dad had married a Moskowitz, so we were able to pass along the family name. And it's got a nice fire pit outside too. I think a number of you were there last night. Millie Pape, a class of 40, and this is something to encourage all of us. Our board chair, Greg Connors, who was with us yesterday for the Delta Sig, he's been very good with each of our board members. Think of the university in your annual giving, think of it in your major gifts, but also think of what you want to leave as a bequest, what you're passionate about. And that's our heritage circle. And that's something, it's that old Jean-Jacques Rousseau quote, the only thing you have left in the end is what you've given to others. So it would encourage you also to keep that in mind, because it makes a huge difference for many generations at our university to come, when none of us are going to be around. Millie Pape was one of those, a class of 40, passionate about women's education, our Judson Leadership Center. We just recently, there was a $2 million bequest that came through her generosity. We have one of the oldest women's leadership academies in the country, and this will help build upon what's already been established there, so we want to thank her. We have our newest and youngest, or one of our newest and youngest Heritage Circle members. Where's Carolyn? She was here earlier. There she is. Two-time graduate. She has a more exotic reason why she's wearing a foot cast, but the truth be told, she fell in her front yard. Lives across near Fasano. Was one of our first student Saxon Circle members. Became the youngest Heritage Circle member because she wanted to be a leader in that regard as well. So Carolyn, thank you. If you're under 23 years by at least 3 days, that would be a new record, so keep it in mind if you fall in that category or have a child or grandchild. We were just out in San Francisco about 4 weeks ago, David and Beebs Miller. They play at some reunions. David, their daughter, they have a jazz trio. They'll be back, but their Heritage Circle commitment is to support music at Alfred University, in particular jazz, because that's what they're passionate about. David went on to law school at Syracuse, so at the same time he also did something for Syracuse, and it's a scholarship for a student from Alfred that goes to pursue a law degree there. Tony Carvalho, you might have seen the email, was here just a few weeks ago. A family from the Azores. His wife's family was from Portugal, and when she passed away, his commitment, which he's also building through the Heritage Circle, is scholarships for students that are first-generation Americans. And he got to meet one of the students that he and his wife's generosity had supported, Natalie Skwarek. We sent out an email about that commitment, and soon thereafter heard from an alum of ours, 58, Phil Lau, who had a very distinguished career at Eastman Kodak, has numerous patents, went from here to get a PhD at Syracuse. His family origins are from Asia, and what he and his wife are going to do through their Heritage Circle commitment is to support a student with Asian roots at our university. Robin and I were just in Minneapolis earlier this week. Marie Zukowski, Jim Becker, class of '69 member. Jim was a mathematics major, had a distinguished career, among other places, Texas Instruments and computer science. Started giving to scholarships. His wife, they also give generously to St. Benedict, her alma mater in Minnesota. And more recently, when they're thinking about what they want their impactful Heritage Circle gift, it's to support mathematics in particular through an endowed faculty position, or if it's available, even the deanship of the liberal arts and sciences. So this is about a $2.1 million commitment that down the road will mean a great deal for our university and continuing to build excellence. And then just another measure of the generosity of you, of our alums that make this magic possible. Pam Bernstein, class of '71, has done numerous things, a speaker series, an advisory board member at the Women's Leadership Academy, the Judson Leadership Center. Most recently has been helping us with professional advising. Her first 5-year commitment ran out this summer. We were thinking she hasn't had a chance to meet our new enrollment management head, our new student affairs head. She was going to come visit us. There were some weather issues that precluded her from doing that in July. We were hoping to ask for $100,000 for at least a year's continuance, and said, no, I'm actually going to commit to the next 4 years for $500,000, so you can keep that momentum going in professional advising. So without being asked. And then 2 things in particular, reunion-related giving. Golden Saxons. We have quite a few of you here. Don Bolden set up that group and recently passed away. Roger Ice took on the mantle and has established an endowment to cover all Golden Saxons giving for scholarship support. So for those of you that fall in this category that would like to help us, please let us know. And then we have a member of the class of 70. We'll be celebrating a dinner tonight with the 70 and the 71 group. And I think he's here, Terry Montgomery. Terry, where are you? Terry's particular passion is academic excellence. He's helped us before with APEX, our Applied Experiential Learning Program. If you'd like to help and join him, I would encourage you to talk to Terry, talk to me, or one of our advancement staff members. We're going through a search right now for a head of university advancement. We had an incredibly talented alum, two-time alum that headed the shop, had a prolific career the last 4.5 years, went off to a Division I school, the largest private in the state of New Jersey. We have a campus committee, a search committee that's been formed. We have a trustee advisory committee. This is really important for us to get right. And we're also relying on a search firm. And we raise each year now about $23 million on about a $65 million annual budget. So philanthropy plays a key role to excellence at our university in making sure. So if you know of any candidates, let us know. We're in the midst of that search right now. And you heard from Mark earlier, but he was Jason's right-hand person, very generously agreed to serve as our interim VP. So we'd like to publicly acknowledge him being willing to shoulder those responsibilities. And then a special shout out to Janet Marble, who makes the reunion magic possible. Janet. For those of you that have renewed your vows either 2 years ago or last evening, that was her idea. She even tracked down a purple tunic and a gold collar that she outfits me in. It was funny, last night at the Delta Sig dinner, we had a brother say, well, I got to tell you about that Janet. And both Greg Connors, the board chair, and I were listening to him, and our hearing, maybe with age, is getting tougher. We thought he said, she's really cold. So, and there was a motorcycle going by, so that maybe partly accounted for our poor hearing. But the alum said, the brother said, no, she's really gold. So, which is quite true. We heartily agreed with him. Janet, as good as gold, as one of our old sayings used to go, because AU, the symbol for gold, is also what we go by. So, Janet, thank you. Sense of place. So first time I came to Alfred, I got lost. Which direction do you turn? Which entrance do you use? How do you find your way to the Saxon Inn? So we've been installing a wayfinding system through our facilities team and Michael Kozlowski and our marketing communication team. This was some of the signage we used to rely on. In certain cases, chalk scrawled on the building for residents' life. It's definitely outside of ordinary, but we'd like to bring a little bit more professionalism to it. And Jim Jordan, a class of 72 member, a trustee, has made this possible through his philanthropy. It should be the first wave fully installed by the time our students get here. There's already signs that have been appearing in places like Canacadia, and we received input from alums, from campus members, just to make sure it strikes the right tone. We've never had a logo until a couple of years ago. Our marketing communications team and some trustees helped us with this, so it also proudly displays now our first university logo. Another place that needed work. Did any of you take a tour this morning, or yesterday, I guess, of the School of Art and Design? Harder Hall? Okay. If you've been there before and not recently, it has a very utilitarian, a lot of concrete, dark, very 60s style, similar to what you'd imagine a communist Nelson Rockefeller when he tore down a neighborhood of Albany and built that monstrosity in the heart of Albany. So this was some of the before. If you get a chance, wait till you see this was in process a couple weeks ago. The color the spaces, and shout out to Lauren Lake, who's as of a year ago, our new dean of our School of Art and Design. Lauren, if you'd stand up. She and our students have been doing this throughout the summer. So. Purple and gold, but also a heavy dose of pink. That was some of the student input in particular, so it's very colorful. Vaccination rates as of June. We did a pretty systematic survey of both students and employees. At the time, students were 75% vaccinated, staff and faculty 86%. Our vaccination policy for the fall, about 4 weeks ago we announced we're going to be requiring vaccinations of our students, partly because they intersect more with Alfred State, they move around more than our faculty staff. The SUNY system isn't requiring until the vaccines get regular use approved by the FDA. So as alums, you probably intersected too with Alfred State college students. Our at-risk group are primarily our faculty staff. The risk is fairly low in terms of students in their age group, but we needed to preserve faculty and staff health and safety, and also ensure that they felt safe coming to class teaching as opposed to wanting to stay online. So what we decided to do, similar to measles, mumps, and rubella, vaccines are required of our students, but not of our employees. And part of the reason for the nuance is we also had an already higher vaccination rate, so we felt safer to begin with our employees. A new thing that's not on this slide, and we just announced yesterday, we are going to be going back Monday, as in 2 days from now, to masks being required in indoor spaces. With Delta, we just thought better err on the side of caution. Latest case count across the country is 106,000 new cases as of yesterday, according to today's New York Times. So it's something we want to err on the safe side, and then we'll keep watching. What we've seen in the UK is the wave tends to wash over reasonably quickly because it's transmissible more readily. So we'll keep watching when we can return to without having to use masks. We aren't going to socially distance like we did last year, but still use masks in indoor spaces. And if you're getting a medical or religious exemption, you can come to campus with those. If you have an exemption, you're going to have to go through a weekly test for COVID, just to promote safety. Last few things. Taking better care of our people. Again, a shout out. Must be the air conditioner going on. A shout out to our Board of Trustees. In last fall, when we got through the fall, they ended up raising money to support, maybe that's the cue to get off the stage, so we could give a turkey or a vegetarian option to each of our employees, and we got a chance to thank them in that way through their support. They also provided a mask for each of our students, a branded mask. What they did in the spring was, through their incredibly generous philanthropic support, they were able to raise enough money that we were able to provide an $800 bonus per employee if you made less than $50,000, and $500 if you made $50,000 and above. So that was a nice shot in the arm. And then we've been able to take a step more recently to better take care of our people. We were able to announce July 1st a salary increase, again targeted to those making less on our campus. But we have more steps to go there, and we're in the midst of this. And then last thing, we've been spending the summer developing our next strategic plan with the management team. It guides what we do. We'll be vetting it more fully. The 4 themes, and you're one of the first audiences to test drive this on, that appear to be emerging is, number 1, we transform student lives. Our intersection does, and betters our world. We're very much a one popcorn kernel popping at a time. We don't mass produce education. Number two, we're very inclusive. We're the first place to be fully open to female students. One of the first open to Native Americans and African Americans. And just as a testament to that, we have a number of HEOP students that join us every summer. This is the 40th year. So I'd like to ask them to stand that are with us right now. So if you get a chance to say hello, they were at our breakfast this morning, please introduce yourself. The relationships, the ways you can help them would be greatly appreciated. Third theme, we're very much a maker culture. We're inductive versus deductive. We get our hands dirty, whether it's art and design or engineering. And then last thing, we're big on intersections. We think that can really be a hallmark. As much as we make fun of having only one stoplight in town and celebrating that with an annual birthday celebration, what makes this place magical is your life intersecting with fellow students that have different backgrounds, that have different aspirations, and intersecting with our faculty staff. So with that, want to thank all of you for being here. In particular, I want to recognize the members of our Alumni Council. Quite a few of them are here today, so I'd like to ask them to stand. If any of you would like to name air conditioning vent, please let me know. It might be a good naming opportunity as well. So enjoy the rest of your stay. We're thrilled you're back, and fiat lux.